This is usually, yeah, it's usually a charm. I don't know what happened today. But we'll see what happens.
It says we're live now.
Does it? Are we live? Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Can you see me? Can everybody see me? I see one engagement.
I can see you.
Okay. Oh, okay. So it looks great. All right. Welcome, everybody. We had a few little minor technical things going on here, but this is, it's in the cards. And I am so excited. See, I got my kind of look, what do you call it? Tarot reader look today, because in honor of this. And you know, it's the season for Halloween, Hallows Eve, and a lot of the mystery and the vibe of the season. So I am just so excited to have my friend Lisa join us today. Hi, Lisa Adams, and this is Sharon Burton. If you do not know who I am by now, I'm with Spark Your Creative Coaching, and this is our Facebook Live, and also will be part of our podcast series and on YouTube. So if you missed today and you, of course, missed the replay, you can always see it on my YouTube page, which is Spark Your Creative Coaching. And of course, I work with creatives to help them unblock and be inspired to do the good work that they do. And one of the things I try to do, in addition to the podcasts and the blogs and all the other things I do, is just to occasionally pop in and do a Facebook Live with the people. And this topic is kind of close to me. And before I introduce Lisa, I've always been fascinated with tarot cards and oracle cards. And part of my daily rituals, in addition to meditation, which I do have a meditation series going on right now, so please check that out. But in addition to prayer, meditation, I always draw cards. And I've been drawing oracle cards for several years. And I just got a chance to learn the tarot by this lovely lady here. And I thought, you know, it'd be kind of fun to do a Facebook Live and talk about the tarot and talk about oracle cards and using that for dealing with creative blocks. So I want to introduce this lovely lady here all the way from Staunton, Virginia, and she looks so great. And I miss her terribly. We are also very good friends. Lisa Adams, welcome to the Facebook Live.
Thank you for having me. It's so good to see you, and just, I mean, any chance to hang out. And if we got to do it live on Facebook, like, I'm cool with that.
Yes, and maybe we need to do more. Lisa Adams is the Renegade Mystic. And she is fiercely dedicated to helping empaths like myself and sensitives claim their serenity, gain clarity, and break through limitations to craft extraordinary lives. So as you can see, we are both about it, okay? She knows that living in integrity with who you are and what you value impacts the world and creates a legacy that contributes to the greater good. And I am just so excited to have her here today. And I think we're almost, is that an amethyst?
I'm wearing labradorite.
Okay, close in color, kind of close in color. I'm a amethyst girl. So we're going to have a little bit of fun today, learning a little bit about tarot cards and oracle cards. And also Lisa is a fellow poet like myself and an artist and all that kind of stuff. So she is kind of like a Renaissance woman, at least to me anyway. So I'm going to start off and just sort of ask an important question, because I know sometimes I get asked this question, what are tarot cards and what are oracle cards and what is really the main difference between the two?
Okay, so the way that I would put it is that tarot cards follow a particular system of based on archetypes and archetypal patterns that are thread throughout all of ancient esoteric wisdom teachings. So it even overlaps with teachings like the Kabbalah and astrology and other wisdom teachings, where within the collective, within the 3D reality in which we live, there are certain points upon people's paths. There are certain kinds of archetypes or patterns of energy that we all recognize when we see them. And so the tarot cards illuminate those patterns and show you what the pattern is. Like if you're like, what's going on in my life? And you draw a card, it gives you a pattern to look at. So part of why I like it and why I also like oracle cards is because as a very sensing, feeling, intuitive person, I sometimes have a hard time bringing all the feelings from here to here. So the cards give me some language and they help me to put words and logical understanding to what I'm feeling within myself. They also are great because they recognize and honor the 4 elements of nature, being air, fire, water, and earth. And there's numerology included in all of that. So it's all of these patterns and things brought together in a way that's more sort of mystical and intuitive so that we can make sense of our lives and give it context. And when we do that, it gives us the opportunity to understand better, like our situations and whatever's happening so that we can make decisions and choices moving forward. I find it's very affirming to whatever I'm feeling inside. It's not usually a lot of surprise. It's usually things we already know, that it kind of removes our overthinking, over analyzing, and and questioning ourselves. Kind of removes that, and it's like, okay, yes, this really is what's happening and where I'm at. Oracle cards are slightly different in that they're kind of more like channeled messages. They don't necessarily follow these archetypal patterns that we see in the universe, although most of the time oracle cards have such very channeled specific messages that I have found for myself, but also for a lot of people that I read for. It's like, that is exactly what I needed to hear. So they have a really lovely place also with doing readings. And I mean, have you also felt that too, Sharon? Like sometimes you draw the card and you're like, wow, either it really
Yes,
nails you or it tells you the exact thing that you needed to hear or no.
definitely. That's why I use them when I can, because it's interesting. Well, one thing I did want to mention too with the tarot cards, those are ancient. They've been around for how long?
A couple hundred years or so.
Okay,
Yeah, they
so
originated in France, I believe.
right, and so that's an important difference, because oracle cards are relatively new, and a lot of the creators use sort of similar energies to create them, but they're also a little bit more easier in some ways to work with, in a sense of, whatever's on the card is what you is the message. Whereas with the tarot, you have to take time to learn the symbolisms and the messages. And the messages can mean one thing in certain contexts and something else in another context. There's certain cards that people kind of whack out on the tarot. And we might talk a little bit about that today. But whereas the oracle card is a little bit more straightforward. Some of you who follow me on Instagram know that I use a lot of the Artist Way oracle cards, which have a lot of positive messages for people by Julia Cameron. I also do this artist oracle, and I didn't bring them, of course, but that's okay. which has messages from artists kind of based on their personality. And those are very helpful to use too. So the tarot, how long have you been reading is it tarot or tarot? I always just say whatever's on
Either
my.
is fine. Either
Okay.
is fine.
All
I
right.
think I interchange them. I started, I think, when I was like 19, so that would be 32 years.
Gen X?
Yes, yes, yes. And
We got to represent her.
so I've always been really interested in spirituality and mysticism and kind of witchy things. And so I got my first deck, and then my best friend, whom you know, Mina, also had given me a deck around the same time, and they could not have been more different. But they were both tarot, and one was called the Witch's Tarot, and then the other one was like an Angel Tarot. And the energy from those decks was so incredibly different. And that was really surprising to me. And and so what I find is that even though there's this ancient, patterns and symbols and, messages to the tarot, different decks seem to have different kinds of energies to them. And the art can be incredibly different. And sometimes the authors will interpret the cards a little bit differently too, according to their experience and their understanding of the symbols and the patterns and all of that. So and I honestly, I didn't even start reading for other people until probably I guess about 7 years ago. So I always just use it as a tool of consciousness and awareness for myself, especially in times if I was overthinking or just really kind of confused and trying to make sense of something in my life. And the two biggest ones being like love and money. Those are the big ones for most people. Love and money, and money and love.
Love. Maybe career sometimes, but that's tied with the money.
Money, career, yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, Lisa's a wonderful reader. I really admire Lisa's style. Like a lot of people on, a lot of people get on YouTube, because there's like readers galore, and they have like thousands of people following them. And I'm like, God, that's an interesting hustle, be reading cards and all this other stuff. But the one thing that I love about the way Lisa reads tarot cards is that it's not about, number one, it's not about predicting anything. The way that Lisa does it, it's about drawing those kinds of things that may be going on in your life that you might want to take a look at that might be impeding where you are. And because of her style, I thought that she would be really great for this live and this topic, because when we talk about our creativity and about creating things and kind of moving our gifts into the world, it's not really a conversation about, well, am I going to get that art prize, or is this movie going to, get in the hands of some big time director in Hollywood? It's about, most of the time for us, it's about getting through whatever's blocking us. And when you combine the tarot and the oracle cards, or either or really, but it's kind of powerful when you do the tarot and the, in my opinion, the oracle cards, because sometimes the tarot can clear up what the oracle, that card that you drew, and vice versa, can kind of bring clarity. And if they're in harmony, then you really get a strong message. Wouldn't you agree? So
what happens a lot of time is I will read for somebody using my tarot deck, one of my tarot decks, and then at the end I like to have somebody get just at least one oracle card, and the oracle card really is often a beautiful encapsulation of the kinds of things that we've been talking about through the reading. So it really kind of drives home whatever the message is, or like kind of just beautifully puts it in a way that's really easy to receive and feels like a really like loving gesture or message.
Most definitely. And that's why, I think it's a powerful thing. Now, let me just sort of get, um, I guess, sort of the elephant in the room with some people. There's been, you know, some, some stigma around tarot cards and tarot readers, and oh, the devil, and bad energies and all this kind of stuff. And I admit, I was one of those people years ago in college. There were people that were reading tarot decks, and I was like, no, and it's only been really in the last 10 years that I've been like really, kind of looking at them from a different perspective. And then once I start getting readings, I'm like, I don't see what is so evil about this. But anyway, why do tarot cards have this sort of heaviness to it, as far as, you know, um, you know, just sort of the reputation, the stigma, around those kinds of things?
But some of the things I know for sure that have fed into the fear and the stigma include, religious dogma, that
Mhm.
dogmatism that's about like, thou shalt not suffer a witch to live, because tarot cards are often associated with witches. And also this idea of kind of like the gypsies or the bohemians, who traveled making their living, like, doing, readings and that sort of thing. And often were, kind of a bit mischievous or devious and kind of swindling money from people,
Mhm.
and that kind of thing. So it gets a little bit of a bad rap from that. And, frankly, there's a woman that's not too far from here. Somebody was like, "Oh, she's really good." And I was like, "Well, I'll go check her out." I don't always have the chance to get a reading from somebody else. And she read my palm, and she was, really good. And
Mhm.
then she told me, "Well, you have some negative energy and entities in your life, and the only way that you can get rid of that is to give me $200 and come back here, and I can do this for you." Now, she was a good reader, but she wasn't good enough to know that I already knew my stuff and that I didn't need to go pay her a bunch of money and keep her, she wanted to keep her hooks in me as like somebody that needed to rely on her.
Mhm.
My way of reading, and I think you're alluding to this, is to empower people so
Yes.
that you can make your own decisions,
Decisions.
and so that you have an understanding about maybe some of the stuff you need to work on in order to make your own decisions and help in your own healing in your personal journey. Um, I don't want to keep my hooks in you. My job is to make sure that you don't need me. Like, you want to come to me for a little help or guidance, great, but ultimately you shouldn't always have to reach out to somebody for a reading in order to make any decision in your life. Some people get addicted to that.
And, it's about intuition and trusting your intuition, not about giving that power of, your life to some reader to tell you what's going on. Number one, as you mentioned, not all readers are legit. They may do some work, but they don't. They a lot of times they are designing their services to do exactly what you said, to hook you. And it really shouldn't be about that. It should be to just get information to make decisions, but not necessarily run your life. And so it's more of, for the most part, it's really about aligning your intuition with what the cards say. That's
But
all it is.
really, what the cards do is they help you understand like where within your intuition is coming from. So the thing you already knew that the card is showing you, it's like, where in my body do I feel that or hear that message, so that you don't have to question it, so that you become more in touch with the intuition.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, before I have asked Lisa to do a reading for the collective, but before I do that, I wanted to ask, how do you use the tarot and the oracle cards, in your daily life? And what would you suggest for people to do, that may have those cards or want to learn and, kind of use it as guidance for their creativity?
I think my favorite way is probably similar as you, is maybe like a little daily reading, just drawing one card, like, what do I most need to know today? Or,
Mhm.
what, or, asking for a heads up on, like, what am I going to be facing? Or, what's the best energy for me to embody today? Especially if you've got like a big day ahead of you or facing a challenge, getting some sort of insight like that to help sort of bolster you,
Okay.
give you a little bit of a game plan. So that's one way. Another way that I have come to really love is using the cards to evoke and invoke certain kinds of energy in my life. So I will, journal and meditate and draw cards, and then certain cards that encapsulate certain kinds of energy. Maybe it's beauty or love or ecstasy or playfulness or whatever. I can tell you right back here on this one of my altars, because my whole house is like a big altar. You've been here, so you understand.
Yes. Yes.
I have I have a bunch of cards laid out that I've chosen from different decks that show like love energy and playfulness and a lot of the things that I just said, like abundance, prosperity, so I will have those out and on an altar with like all my crystals and my beautiful things, so that I can see them and so I can be reminded of that energy and receive that energy, because they act as intentions and kind of also sort of magnets in that way.
It's interesting. I do a similar kind of thing. If there's certain readings that hit me, I do, just for people's information, I have three tarot decks. I've got three tarot decks as we've worked together. And so a lot of times I choose the tarot deck that I feel comfortable with for the day. There may be one that calls me. And I usually draw a card from that. And then there is another deck, an oracle deck, that has a Native American feel to it by Denise Lynn, I think that's her name.
Yes, Denise Lynn.
And I pull from that. Yes, and I pull from that. I think it's Native Spirit or something like that. I have a goddess deck, and then I have a I think it's sort of like, what do I need to let go for the day, or what do I need to know? Surrender. It's surrender cards. So I use those, and I might use all of them. I might use two, and I ask, what do I need to know today? Or what is being hidden from me today? Or if I'm having trouble with my creative muse, I'll ask it, what is impeding me? And I might pull from one of the art oracle cards that I mentioned earlier, and just to get an art view to it. And it's really amazing the messages that you can get. Um, and it's just, for me, when you look at those cards and they say you need to surrender your ego or jealousy, or you need to focus on self-love or taking care of yourself, and that might seem kind of like, well, what does that have to do with my creativity? Well, are you getting enough rest? Are you eating the right foods? Are you exercising? Are you meditating, giving yourself some time, some self-care time? And if you're not doing that, nothing is going to work. So that's why I think they're just magic. And they're just sort of good ways and good journaling points too. Those of you that do the morning pages like I do, I sometimes write down what cards I pulled. And that sort of serves as a record as to how does that match up with what I wrote. If I was writing something and I was complaining about, I da 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 da, how does the cards line up to that? And it's good to look back sometimes and say, okay, this is what's going on. So awesome, awesome, awesome sauce. Okay, time for the reading. Now, this reading is for anybody. Now, whether you're watching right now with us, or if you catch this on YouTube or some other time, this is for you. And this is a gift that Lisa has agreed to give us. And this is for those that are really having a trouble right now with their creativity. And it could be because of all that's going on. And believe me, I know, and it's interesting. I'm on this weird kind of creative streak right now with all this craziness going on. Though, I was blocked for a couple months. But for those that, and maybe none of this is bothering you, but you just want to, you're just having trouble kind of breaking through to get your creative project done, to get through to your creative practice. So Lisa's going to do a special reading for us, that those of you that are in that situation.
Okay, so what I thought after you asked me, hey, what about a reading? I knew immediately what it was going to be. And it's a 3-card reading that my friend Allison taught me. And I think it's the most brilliant reading because it's simple, but it's powerful. And the first card is the card of start. So this is what, like, if we want to really nurture our creativity, this is what we want to start doing.
Okay.
This is the 6 of Wands in my deck. This is kind of what it looks like, the 6 of Wands. Wands is creative energy. It's fire, it's passion, it's creativity. 6 is a place where it's like we're moving ahead and we're making progress, but we still have a ways to go. So that's a part of what number 6 means in tarot. But I always think of wands kind of almost in the Harry Potter sense, where like if you had a wand in your hand and you were just swinging it around willy-nilly, like what the heck is going to happen? Like, are you going to turn yourself into a mouse, or, like something crazy happening because you don't know what you're doing and how you're wielding that and directing your own energy. So if you had a wand in your hand and you were to direct that towards a goal or towards something you want to work on, you want to do that with intention and focus. Okay, so where you might be going just along, going through the paces of life or whatever, it makes sense that if you want to work on something creative, or you may be feeling a little blocked, that you really get clear for a moment and think about, what is it I'm creating? What is my why? What is the passion? What is the passion behind what it is that I want to create and make? And, because the passion, that's wand energy, that's creation, that's like what stirs us to do the things that we love. So then once you're really clear about that, then take that energy and use that sort of idea of a wand where you're going to direct that energy through and create the thing that you want. It's actually a really positive card. So I love this for like the kind of start doing this. Okay. The next card in this 3-card series is stop. So this is the thing that we get hung up on, or that we might be kind of stuck in a loop or a pattern with, that we just got to stop it. Okay. Ooh, this is the King of Cups. Let's see if this will, there we go. There's the card, King of Cups. So what I'm reading, this card is reversed because the upright version of this card is a beautiful positive message. That this card reversed is stop being petty. What we need to do with this card is we need to claim our emotional maturity. We need to be adults. We need to be clear about how we're using our emotions, how we're expressing our emotions. This card is like, stop being petty, stop acting like, childish or, or jealous or being sort of mean. Stop withholding your love. And instead have emotional maturity, talk things out, communicate, demonstrate your love, be forgiving. It's that kind of thing. So I think this makes a lot of sense because, I can personally say that I've had my moments lately where I'm angry and I'm frustrated and I'm like, those people over there, the things they do and believe and blah, blah, blah. And I'm, for me, that means I need to put a boundary in place too. So make sure you're honoring your boundaries, but also soften. Soften.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, be a
Mhm.
little more vulnerable, soften and open up a bit, and find that more like forgiveness, and emotional maturity, within situations, relationships, the collective.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
And I know it's, with the times, it's so easy to get distracted and to, get caught up in those loops. And I think that's in that series, that's one of the most important cards for those that are listening, because if you know or not conscious of what you're doing that's causing the blockage, it's right there. And a lot of times you can align that with if you're doing journaling, if you're, caught up in something where you're recording what you're doing, you may see some reflection in that card with what's going on and what you're writing about. Just a clue.
yeah. And you saying that triggered this, also, that I think is important to know about this card. Sometimes we need a creative outlet or some sort of outlet for our emotions, including our anger and our negative emotions. So,
Word.
where and how can you create a space of safety or have a healthy outlet to pour that emotional energy into, so you're not taking it out on somebody you love? Um,
Good point.
including yourself, including
Good,
yourself.
good point. Giving yourself grace, but also, you know, channeling it in a different way. And that might mean physical exercise. We talk about movement because sometimes, and I know I'm guilty of this as a, alpha female and type A type person, stuff stays in your head and you need to move it through your body in some kind of way, and that's also a way to relax and to move through some blocks. So great point, my dear.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big deal, because I mean, I know that if I'm physically active, I am so much more mentally and emotionally just like smooth and steady and stable. And anger really needs some sort of a physical sort of expression. And so movement is fantastic for that. Dance, of course, being probably my favorite, yoga, breath work, that kind of thing. But this, this King of Cups card's a lot about emotion. So we want to make sure that we are being, emotionally mature. But also, if you're struggling, like most of us are, I don't know how you cannot be right now, then finding those healthy outlets, safe, healthy outlets for those things. So
Absolutely.
card number 3. So the first card was start. The
Mm-hmm.
second card was stop. We just finished that. The card number 3 is continue. So this
Hmm.
card is like, what's working that you want to make sure you're continuing to do? Ooh, this is a great card. This is from the major arcana of the tarot, whereas the first 2 cards were from the suits or the minor arcana. This is a big deal card. So this is the High Priestess card.
High priestess,
Yeah.
yes.
And of course, this card is totally the card of my heart out of the tarot. Um, the High Priestess card is all about intuition. It's dropping into your body, listening to your intuition. It's knowing that not everything that you are seeing or hearing or witnessing is as it seems.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like having some patience, slowing down, meditating, finding the stillness to listen to that deep inner wisdom. Because typically, when this card shows up, there's more to the story. And we want to make sure we've got the whole story and the big picture before we take action. And I mean, this card really speaks to so many things going on right now, in the world. And part of the gift, if you will, of COVID is that we've had to go inside and get more still and quiet, because we're distancing. So that gives us that opportunity to listen more closely to that inner wisdom and not always do the distractions, as you were mentioning. Like, it's easy to get distracted. This card is just trust yourself, trust your intuition. You don't always have to have some sort of outward validation for the way that you feel. If you feel it, pay attention to what that is for you. Pay attention, wait, listen, observe, just take a sacred pause and let everything bubble to the surface so that you can really see what's happening.
Awesome. Oh,
Yeah.
that's some serious stuff. And um, so as you can see, the tarot doesn't have to be, you know, this, mysterious hocus pocus type stuff, or, you're going to be, doing this at a certain time. Reading, and those are the tarot cards that she did. Reading those cards from that perspective, or an oracle set that you may have that you like a lot, that provides a lot of guidance, and doing that three step draw is all that you need, and I think it's simple. It's just a little knowledge of the tarot that you might have to learn, as far as the cards. But I mean, it's just a simple thing, and it can be a part of everything that you do. You could even do it right before you start creating. If there's some guidance on, if you're stuck on, I don't know, maybe a direction that you want to go, materials, subject matter, uh, whatever that you may have. If you're writing a song for an album, do they say albums anymore? I don't know, CDs,
I think
digital,
album, yeah.
whatever that is anymore. You may want to, you might be stuck on a topic or something. I could see this really being something that can be used. And matter of fact, I'm planning to use more of those cards, particularly the oracle cards, but also the tarot in the future to help my clients, because I think sometimes, we get, like you said, stuck in our heads, and frustrated, and you're not sure. And sometimes you just need an objective thing to just say, okay, let's see what the cards say, and helping people kind of get through and think a little more clearer, about these things. So.
Well, while you were talking, you mentioned the oracle cards, and so I brought my favorite oracle deck with me too. So
Okay.
this is from the Sacred Rebels Oracle.
I've heard some good things about that. Yeah.
And so these are the two decks I use the most. They're my biggest partner decks, and so I wanted to choose an oracle card with a message of hope for everybody at this time. And this could not be a more perfect card. What you can barely tell all around here, this does look like art or almost like a collage. And all of these are buttons.
Right.
There's the light bulb above her head. Some of this looks like either lace and or like gears.
Okay.
Okay, so it's kind of this overlay of all these different things. And the card says going beyond normal. And I think it's ideal because there is no normal anymore. We had normal. COVID happened. There's no normal. We're not going backwards. We're not going back to that. And this card is a full out permission and invitation to do you, to like take the crazy leap of faith and or do like the big huge project that that like is on your heart that maybe you're a little intimidated by, or like live out loud in your own authentic way. This is what the world is asking of us and calling us into, and not to stay stuck in the neat little boxes that society would have us stay in to play safe or whatever. This is like, that's the last thing we need right now, is to play safe. What we really need to do is to express ourselves more fully and to live within that authentic, it's like authentic to ourselves. That's how we do integrity, is to be who we are authentically. And especially I think when you're doing anything creative, if it sounds a little crazy or nobody's ever done that before, that's probably the exact thing you should be doing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. I love that. I think that message definitely can go with everything that's going on, but also including your creative direction and what you're trying to do. I just posted on my other Instagram about a project I did last year, which you were very much kind of a part of with this poetry thing that I did, a poetry trap book. And, I didn't consult cards at the time, but it was sort of an interesting kind of overlap because it was a project I've never done before. I've always been a visual artist, at least how I show up. And so poetry was not something, it was very private and something I did as a kid and did, periodically throughout my life. And to actually do a whole project based on something new, at least to the audience and even to myself, to formalize it. There were so many benefits from that. And so when you get a card like that, go with it. If there's been a project that's so different, maybe you are a musician and all of a sudden something is telling you to start doing, art, there's nothing wrong with that. Try that because sometimes that will open you up for back to what your main creative practice is. And at the same time, open doors that you wouldn't normally had even thought about or get involved with a whole different audience. So, I think, again, really just one deck of tarot cards and maybe your favorite oracle cards, and you can find them on Amazon. You just do a search for tarot or oracle decks, and as my good friend here has always told me, if there's images that appeal to you, that's the card for you. That's the deck for you. So
art is so important. It's a very important part of choosing a deck and understanding, like, if there's something about the art that you feel really drawn to or you really enjoy or love, you're going to really remember and understand on an intuitive level what the card's message is for you.
And with the oracle cards, what is it that appeals to you? I was telling you about the surrender cards. Those are, they're kind of in your face sometimes, surrender, your need to have your ego stroke today, but sometimes those are great. But Amazon, Hay House, you can get them directly from some of the creators if you follow some creators or people on YouTube. If they have decks that they sell, there's links to that if you like the cards that they use. Sometimes I'll watch a YouTube video just to see what new cards that people are using, or what is it that they're using, what's oh, whoa, that's serious, okay. And usually the better readers are nice enough to put a link and tell you about where you can get the cards that they're using during their readings. All right, well, we're at the top, almost near the top of the hour, and that's one thing about this new YouTube thing, you can't see comments, so you just have to what we can do.
Have to go into Facebook and YouTube and check it out and see what's there. Because I was also thinking what I maybe would be good to do is to take pictures of these cards and post it in the comments on the Facebook Live video.
That would be awesome.
So that people can take a look and see the art, but also just enjoy these cards and understand them maybe on an intuitive level through the visual aspect. And anybody, like you mentioned journaling and you do morning pages, anybody that has any interest in any of this, I have notebooks and notebooks of the readings I do for myself, so I can track what's happening. I can look back. It helps me to learn the cards even more. These are tools that I know that I will be using throughout the rest of my life, that I continue to learn. The depth of understanding and connection and knowledge is unending. It's a lifelong study. I dedicated a journal to the readings and the cards and the things. It's really valuable, and you can make it pretty.
You can make it pretty. You can, you can even do your own oracle decks. If you're that creative, and I've been thinking about doing that with a book project I'm working on, where but it takes a lot of insight and intuitiveness as far as doing an oracle deck. You can't really reproduce the tarot, but like you said, there's some people that kind of deal with some of the different um, suits based on their own interpretation of it. Um, but it's just a good thing. It's just another tool that is fairly inexpensive. You can get a nice Oracle deck for probably under $20. I've seen them, and I've seen them to be kind of expensive, but a lot of it is based on the artwork. Um, and I know I've done a couple pandemic buys during the last couple of months that probably could have went to somewhere else. All right, Lisa, I just really appreciate you doing this today. And by the way, Lisa's a great um, educator on the tarot, and I don't know if you're going to be offering any more classes in the future on that. Okay, but tell people how can they find out about you? How can they follow you? What's your websites? All the deets.
You can look me up on my website on therenegademystic.com. And of course, I have like a public Facebook page, and my Instagram is Priestess Lisa. I also have a Facebook group called Dark Moon Mystics. You have to ask to join, but the Dark Moon Mystics group is nice because I like to offer some real kind of more curated content, whether it's my own or somebody else's, and post in there and really nurture that community. Because it's people that I really legitimately know and care about. And I want to get to know and care about more people, because I'm here to serve. It's service. And and I do astrology, as well as readings and coaching, and I also lead people through shamanic journey work and healing along their own life journey too. And so these, the cards are just really one of the many tools that I love and I use. And so I love to share and offer them with others. And I teach a lot of different things too, because I'm a spiritual teacher. So it all goes together.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And again, just want to thank you. And I just want to send a shout out, because I don't know if Nina is watching, Nina Habibi. She is an awesome photographer. And I had her on a Facebook Live last year, and I want to bring her back on this whole topic of grace and giving, working with yourself when you're kind of trying to push through. So if you hear me, Mina, I'm on you. I'm going to be contacting you very soon, and we're going to do this. But Nina actually introduced me to Lisa, and it's been just a great connection. And so I think that's an important thing to add, that a lot of times other creatives can introduce you to contacts that can really help you, whether it's with your creativity in some way or making connections in other ways. So it's always good to connect with people. And I really want to just also say that for those of you that are, trying to move through this whole thing that we're dealing with right now, I will say that I am holding space for you, and I'm holding love and light for you all. And Lisa too, we both believe in really focusing on the collective at this time, and giving you tools to help you kind of move forward, because it's rough, and it's even rough for us. But we, one of the things about being coaches and being of service to people, that's what we signed up for. The other thing I do want to mention is that during the month of October, I am doing a free meditation series. If you look on the Facebook page, you'll see where you can sign up. Did a guided meditations once a week. So you don't have to get emails in your box every day, but once a week, I'll be doing a recorded meditation, and it's just helpful. There's so many benefits for meditation. I know Lisa knows this, and a lot of times we may not think to take time for ourselves to listen and to, focus on our creativity in a different way, especially during these times, because we have so much noise coming at us. So I want to encourage you to do that. Once again, Lisa, thank you, my dear, for doing this. This was really And we got to go hiking soon. I got to find a way to do that. I've been saying that all year, but we're going to have to do that. And definitely we'll be in touch as always. And I want to thank all of you for participating. If you have questions or have left questions, both of us will be checking the comment section so we can, answer questions that you have. I hope this was fun. I think this type of stuff is always fun. I mean, what's life without a little joy, okay? Even though things are a little rough, but we can always find joy in anything that we do, and particularly anything that deals with our creative practice. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you all
I love you, Sharon.
I love you too, darling.
Thank you.
Thank you, and for being patient with me. Getting towards retrograde, so you know how that goes with the shadow and all that. But I just want to thank all of you all for participating, and hopefully this will be helpful to you. I will be uploading this video on YouTube as well, so you'll have a chance to see it, and it will live there in case you can't find it on my Facebook page, which always happens when people do lives. I can never find them after a while. So, and I do have a new Facebook page, and I'll be sharing that link. So if you haven't already subscribed, you get a chance to see the lives whenever you feel like it. All right, take care. God bless, and have a wonderful, wonderful, peaceful weekend. Take care. Bye-bye.